No, I wouldn't say
Yeah, you're
that.
national.
I'm still just starting out, you
That's
know?
cool.
It's been a fun process. I mean, you get to talk to interesting people. So,
And drink beer and hang out. Yeah.
not a bad way to kill a Thursday. Have a
With that
beer, have an
cold
interesting
Heineken.
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, for people that don't know, how did Humboldt Heroes start? Because that's how I found you.
Started, so when you're an insurance guy or anybody in business, you'll get advertising people show up. And so this guy, a friend of mine, John, shows up and he goes, "Hey, how about some radio spots? And you're trying to promote your business. You're brand new. You want to catch all these guys that have been 40 years ahead of you." And I said, "Well, I was in radio and I'm more of a TV guy and blah blah blah." And he goes, "Well, we do this thing in Texas called Texas Texoma Hero. It's up in Texoma, Texas, close to Oklahoma. Odd." And so at Billy Bob Chrysler Dodge, we honor vets there. And I go, "Oh, you mean like a Humboldt hero?" I go, "That would be cool." My dad was a vet. He was a World War II pilot and amazing guy, Bob. And I said, "Yeah, could we do that here?" He goes, "I don't see why not. Why don't we?" We started, and then it got traction, and we just put it together. And I got it handed off to this other guy who created all the collateral, the nomination forms, the website, the Facebook page. And we just went to town. And that's 7 years ago. We've honored a vet once a month consistently since, and it's been amazing.
For 7 years. Wow.
Yeah, 7 years, and it's pretty modest. Somebody said, "Why don't you go national?" I go, "No, because that would wreck it." It's designed to be modest and local and hometowny, and if we have 40, 50 people, it's a big crowd, and so it's been just magical to say thanks to people that have served.
Well, it's a great idea to shine a light on people that usually don't get the spotlight, right?
Yeah, or haven't for years. A lot of people, just hadn't been thanked for a while, and every one of them is different. There's some of these are really sobering, and others are just total tears, and others are total laughter and fun, and every guy, gal. So we honor all five branches of the military, male, female, currently serving or not, and a lot of guys go, "Hey, I didn't, I wasn't in combat. I didn't, take anybody out." I go, "Not the point of a hero." "Well, I'm not a hero." "Well, did you serve?" "Yeah." "Did you give up 4, 10, 20 years?" "Yes." "Did you come back and contribute to your community?" "Yeah." I go, "That's hero stuff." So it's some guys are pretty modest heroes, and a lot of them are different. I could tell a story or two before we're done, but yeah, all of them are heartwarming and amazing and fun to be part of.
Do a lot of them kind of push back on that hero branding? Say, I
In the
just
nomination,
did what I did.
yeah, in the nomination part, they might, "Hey, I'm no hero," and I'm going, "Okay, well, let's keep talking. Tell me more. What'd you do?" "Well, I worked with canines in Korea, in an American base in South Korea, and I worked with dogs." "Cool, Debbie, you're a hero. That'll work." "Well, I'm a current Lieutenant JG. I'm the only woman Coast Guard up at Humboldt Bay in McKinleyville." I go, "Rachel, you're amazing. That works." So and we try to keep it. Diversity is great, and yet there's some guys and gals dying. So we caught a World War II gal, Dorothy, who was in a movie with Bing Crosby called "Here Come the Waifs." And some of you old timers will know what that might be, anyway, or maybe you know who Bing Crosby is. Anyway, she was in a movie. She was enrolled as a female Navy gal, and we got to recognize her, and it was touching. And she died 2 months later. So all these World War II guys, I mean, they were dying 10, 15, 20 years ago. They're very rare now. So if you get a guy or a gal, and they're in their 90s or even hundreds now. And so we want to make sure we grab those guys before they get their ticket to heaven.
Yeah, and get to hear their story before it's lost,
Yeah. And those are folks that bring out generations of people. Here's like 5 generations of Humboldt people. And you go, wow, that's heroic. That you raised a family and you settled in Eureka or Humboldt somewhere, and you got this amazing, cool family that came out and wanted to get Grandpa out there. In fact, we just had another guy. He died a couple weeks ago. He was an amazing drag racer out of Samoa. He's like known motorhead guy and in the day. So anyway,
Is that a weird feeling where you got to you almost enjoy that moment with them, and then it turns out, oh, it's kind of one of their last.
Yeah, yes and no. It's kind of I really like it because it's nobody gets out of here alive, as the saying goes. Johnny, my father likes to say that. Then he died 3 years ago. But uh, so to be able to honor somebody, yeah, I'll get some photos. So it is a little weird in my office that we captured some photos of different heroes, and there's a couple people that are no longer with us. So yeah, we grabbed that before, you recorded Johnny Cash before he died. You know, caught the really good record.
I've looked out. I don't think I've had any guests who have died yet. Knock on wood,
Yeah,
I
he
should
will.
say.
That's
Yeah,
it
eventually. But
happens.
that'll be a weird moment to be able to look back and say, "Oh, I talked to this person, and now
Right. And now
now they're gone." But that moment is frozen in this medium.
it's a good one. Maybe I'll be your first.
Well, I hope not.
I-
I hope
I'm not
not.
quite ready, Lord. So yeah, so after raising 9 kids, I'm not sure some days. It's like, oh, will I go before the kids? I don't know, and I don't know that I get to choose that. So anyway,
9 kids. How old is your oldest, and how old your youngest?
18 to 38. So we have 5 guys and 4 gals and 9, soon to be 10 grandkids.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, it's pretty rad. We were in our 50s and we didn't have any grandkids at all. Late 50s, it's like grand cats and grand dogs. It's like, come on, you guys, let's get busy here. What's your deal? We got friends in their late 30s and 40s that have tons of grandkids. Going, let's anyway.
Kind of nudging them.
Yeah, it's their job.
Start making some moves.
I don't have any control over that. I barely have control over me. So, what else would you like to know about Humboldt Heroes?
Well, I really like the idea. I like the idea that you guys are kind of taking a moment to recognize people who, sometimes they don't get the recognition that they deserve. Sometimes you go into the military and then you're out and you're just thrust back into civilian life. And
Right.
it's just, if you saw combat, if you didn't see combat, you went through something and now you're just expected to move through that.
Right. Yeah, and that's the concern. A lot of men and women come back changed, augmented, and depressed. Or worse. And it's a big concern. It was a really big concern after Vietnam because they came back to an antagonistic America, and they caught a lot of crap. And what a terrible war and a terrible experience and a terrible return. It's like, and so some of those guys now we've recognized and really super grateful. There's it's almost a healing sort of a thing. Maybe it's a full circle healing. I don't, for lack of a better term. But you give me an idea there, so we can look for, the new Vietnam, the World War II vet that's gone is becoming the Vietnam vet because some of those guys are pretty old.
Were any of the Vietnam vets kind of hesitant to step into the limelight?
A couple have said no, thank you, and as have others. I was no hero, and I was around so many guys that died. They're the heroes. I can't possibly, and other guys embrace that. They go, you know what? I'm going to get up and recognize every hero I know. Humboldt County Sheriffs, EPD, all my buddies from the 54th. All that stuff, and that's kind of cool when they're reflecting and deflecting the glory to folks that maybe help them.
That would be an incredibly challenging thing to go over there, to build these relationships with people, go over there and then come back without some of them and just have to progress. At least in everyday life, if somebody dies and it's because of old age, you can say, well, they lived a great life. They made it as far as they were supposed to go, and now they're not here anymore. And they're hopefully in a better place.
Right.
But if you're over there with someone in their 20s or in their 30s and you watch them,
and your crew is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and these guys, especially World War II, saw a lot of that. Korea, I'm sure, and Vietnam too. But so my dad flew P-51s in Okinawa, so they were all trained in Atlanta. And this P-51 is a really badass airplane. It's like aviators want to fly that today. It's like driving a Ferrari race car at Indy or something. Anyway, so and he watched guys die in training in Atlanta because it was such a new airplane. And he said they went over with 26 guys and like 5 guys came back. So these guys were really up close and intimate with death and loss and friends that, heartbreak. And I think the only equivalence to me is probably my dad in his old age watched all his friends die, and his ex-wives, kids and grandkids, and he called himself the last of the Mohicans. So he saw it on the latter side of life. You start to outlive everybody, and you go, "Oh, what's going on? They're dropping like flies," And so, and Joni and I are seeing that in our 60s. Even now, it's like not everybody's dying, but it's kind of a trip to go, "Oh, wait, he died." Get home from work. Wait, no, say that's not true. So and so died. You're kidding. What happened? Car wreck on 299. Oh my God. So the recurring death theme is what we're talking about today.
Do you think your dad was more prepared for that than the average person because he saw it at an earlier time in life? Or what does it, I would imagine it's
Kind of,
obviously still stings.
yeah, kind of a story. So my dad was an alcoholic in after World War II. So they didn't have drugs; they had Budweiser. I mean, you may have a Heineken; they had Bud, and he drank till I was 13. So he was an alcoholic, full blown, functional, nice guy. Bob was, sweet Bob, and he got sober. So they divorced, and we moved to San Diego and together again, and got divorced again, and so he was on his own. And one day he hit bottom and wound up at the correctional facility in downtown San Diego, which is, hitting bottom for an alcoholic. And he went to AA and got sober, and he died sober 40 years later. And the incredible story about him is, yeah, I think his life prepared him for that. But also, I came back with the Bible from Humboldt. I was the hippie from Humboldt who found Jesus, found Joni, Jesus, found sobriety, found a degree at Humboldt, barely in recreation. I was a B student, man. Come on. And I brought him back this amazing Ryrie study Bible, and he just gone to AA. He wasn't even religious. And he goes, "Well, I only read the King James." I go, "You're just so full of crap." I said, "Keep the Bible. It's a gift from me." And a couple of years later, he got cancer, and he got plugged into a church. He got baptized, and the guy was pretty radically changed in terms of his life perspective, his death perspective, his eternity, and we just became amazingly good friends. And he'd come up to Humboldt and visit, and his priority order was worship at church, golf, ice cream for the kids, and more golf, and smoking cigarettes out in the back porch where we would make him go. So, can't smoke in the house, Dad. Come on. So did he have a perspective on death? Yeah, I think it was really cool. He died pretty comfortable back in Missouri with my brother and sister-in-law, and so kind of a cool story. So yeah, I think he was pretty prepared as that goes. Saw it coming, could write about it and talk about it and pray about it. And he was very forthright. He would come to our home in McKinleyville, Nick, and he would talk about the stories of World War II, which were rad. He saw the Hiroshima cloud, the nuclear cloud in the
Oh, was
morning.
there to see it?
Yeah, he was on a mission.
Oh, wow.
And it was top secret. So they go, "What the hell is that?" "Do you hear me, Bob? What is that?" "We don't know." And so that was a surprise. He did the Bataan Death March where they freed all the prisoners. They were Marines. And with a P-51, apparently you can get pretty low to the ground on the deck. And so he saw one Marine carrying another, and the guy on his back was able to wave at Dad in the plane, and they freed those guys. And just crazy stories. A big bullet shell right by his butt in the parachute. So he almost caught one in the backside, which would have been me not here with you, Nick, talking today. So, skidding a P-51, a priceless airplane, skidding the bottom of that into a landing. And just, yeah, tell that one again, Dad. That's a cool story. And he'd forget and he'd tell it again. "Oh, that's amazing. Tell us that one again. That's an amazing story." And so kind of having living history at your table, kind of neat.
Did he talk about it a lot before becoming sober? Or that was something he engaged in
Um,
afterwards?
I don't think I was old enough to warrant that discussion, and he was probably not present enough to do that. So I think that came over time. I'm not sure he was actually overly bashful about that. He always loved the military, and so he ended up selling insurance on Camp Pendleton because he loved Marines and Marine Corps and all of it. Man, he dug it. He was a total patriot in the best sense of the word, and felt like he wanted to support those guys, and I think so. He'd freely share it, and a lot of gals can't. It's too painful, and I totally respect that and get that, and don't want to push that, but I think it was therapeutical. Get it out there, man.
Well, I think it's got to be better than holding it in, right? I mean, if you think of it like this burden that you're carrying, to lighten the load and let somebody else carry some of it for you, I would imagine would help.
Yeah.
But then again, if you see, I mean, seeing the mushroom cloud from the bomb would be pretty,
from the air,
would be pretty heavy.
on the horizon. You go, what? And he killed people, and he freely talked about that. It wasn't braggadocio, but he goes, I was really good at what I did. And their sorties were disruptive, meaning they would come in with a fleet of P-51s, and kind of like Private Ryan at the end where they blew the tanks up, the tank busters. They would blow up convoys of Japanese soldiers and equipment. And he blew them up, and he did his job. He was damn good at it. And I'm glad. I love Japanese. I love all people, but we won that war. We had to win it, and he was in it to win it, and he did his job well. And it wasn't like in a video game where you just squeeze the trigger and use all your bullets. He explained that you meet them out very carefully. So for all you munitions and gun guys out there, just don't squeeze all your ammo out at once.
Well, and what's unique about that war is those guys came home heroes. Like heroes in the sense that they were embraced because that war stood for something in a really tangible way. Whereas if you take Vietnam, people did not support that war.
Yeah, it's so hard to look back and go, what were we all thinking? And could we, woulda, coulda, shoulda? History, who drove that and why? And
hindsight is 2020.
Yeah, and now they're our best friends. I would visit Vietnam gladly. That'd be cool.
We'll take Japan.
Take Germany.
Yeah,
our trading partners. Our best friends. Best thing you can do, kids, is lose a war to America. We'll take care of you. So.
Yeah, it's crazy how it's just crazy how it all pans out, and the fact that you had these kids going through this thing, and it was a world away, and you were here, and you were just kind of separate from it.
Yeah. I mean, kids that go to war that at 20 or 19. Yeah, we were. Where were we? We were in Alameda. Just over the weekend. My son lives down there, and I don't know where we were. I think we were in a museum and looking at photos. And gosh, some of these guys are babies, just like little guys, young guys going, and gals, mostly guys, going overseas. It's like, oh, we have Aaron's 21 or 21-year-old. Can you imagine him going overseas right now? That'd be rad, and go lay down his life. I'm going, oh my gosh. So yeah. And yeah, so Private Ryan holds a lot of meaning.
Was your dad still around when you started doing Humboldt Heroes?
No, he died in 2004, and I started in 14. We started Humboldt Heroes in 15. So was he around? He wasn't alive on the earth. Did he know about it? Now it's mystical. I hope so. If not, he'll get the video. He's got Facebook in heaven.
Yeah.
Hey, just check out the Facebook page, Dad. He's a good reader.
It would have been crazy to go through something like that. I mean, babies, you had these just kids fighting this war for the world in some sense.
Yeah, you were all in. That's the difference. It's like, oh, this, it's interesting because the Civil War is interesting too, because Civil War they explained it was like you and I being young men and going for the NBA or the NFL. There was no, or rock and roll or skateboard champion or rock band. There was no equivalence. The only heroic thing you could do is go to war and die for your side. So whether you're a Confederate country boy or a Yankee from New York, this is the deal. This was your arena where you're going to show your quality. And, of course, that was a whole other different, talking about kids going to war, against each other. Now it's, there's a real theme to this podcast. It's
I know, we're just on war now.
We're like on war and death today, folks.
Well, it's form fitting for Humboldt Heroes. I mean, what you guys are doing is right up that alley.
Yeah. It's so we're doing one tomorrow. Do you want to know about that?
Yeah, I do.
So Bear River Casino's a partner, as is Dutch Brothers and Porter Street Barbecue, and we have some Kiss Radio, and some other folks are all major. Pierre Carbonneau is the tile guy, but he's kind of my wingman. He's a vet. He knows all the local vets and the groups, and so we actually decided to take one of these on the road. And so the Hero's a native guy, and he's we're going to recognize him tomorrow at 4 p.m. Friday, the 28th at Bear River. So really, in their ballroom. Should be pretty low key, although Facebook's kind of blowing up on it. It's kind of nice. So I think we're going to have a few people, but the whole thing lasts 15 minutes, Nick. It's low key. It's honoring. The hero can give a little speech and say thanks. And we've been really fortunate to have TV coverage, and Time Standard covers it, and probably in today. I'll look at the paper when we're done, but so it's really neat to have kind of this. It takes 1 + 1 = 11. It takes other people to make it happen, and I'm really grateful for that, because there's, this thing it's not so big, but it costs money. It costs money to promote it on the radio. It costs money to do it. We have these nice American-made mahogany award boxes that we put a real authentic American flag in and a certificate, and so we don't screw around. It's pretty nice. It's something you could put on your mantelpiece and show it with pride, and then the local merchants jump in there with some swag and Dutch Bros coffee in a mug, and so that's all really appreciated stuff. So it's really cool.
Do you guys have any criteria for who you give the award to, or you just kind of
thought you'd never ask? So you think, hey, you got hundreds of guys and gals, and that's not true. So we're always looking for nominations, and I'll tell you how you can do that in a minute. So if your listeners know of a local veteran hero, and we've been asked, hey, could you do policemen that are not vets, and could you do yada yada? He was a whatever firefighter. No, really sorry. We'd like to introduce everybody as heroes, but we've really restricted that by definition. But we have a nomination form in the office. People can call me directly. They can message me on Facebook, Humboldt Heroes. There's a website, but I would just call Scott Hammond State Farm here locally and Google us at 444-2504. Like a good neighbor, we'll be right there. So they can call us and just we can take it over the phone. And so that's the beginning of the vetting. You get the nomination, and then there's a little panel of us that we look at them and we kind of consider them. And some of it's availability. If a lot of guys or gals are not in town at different times. One guy was 103 and he couldn't leave Fortuna. Got it. Okay, cool. So there's a little process to it, and we try to make it fair. I don't know what fair is a tough word to define for you, but we try to make it kind of equitable. We've done a lot of women. We've done a fair amount of local native population, people of color. One of my favorite guys, I told you I'd tell you one of my favorite heroes, still is. Would you like to hear about Carl?
Yeah.
So Carl Adams, take a drink of water. Hey, Carl, out there, wherever you are. He's in Africa right now. So he's a 2-star general. He's my age. He's 61 or 2. He's a thoracic surgeon at St. Joe's, and he's a medic, and he's a ranger. And you would be a real badass if you had 5 or 6 or so deployments. 27. And he's the guy that'll fix you in a Huey helicopter and sew you up if you're bleeding to death, or in a bunker hospital, whatever they call the bunker, ER. And 10 feet under is his operating room, So, and what's cool about Carl is he's still a whole bunch of fun. He's nice to have a glass of wine with. The stories are endless, and he's maintained not a joking attitude, but he's maintained humor in the midst of heroism and tragedy. And of course, he married the 30-year-old stewardess from Brazil, and they're living in Colorado on a ranch. So
Shout out to Carl.
Yeah, way to go, Carl. Have some kids, bro. um, and so, and he's around on occasion, yet he's also tethered to a pager because he's on call. He comes to Eureka, but he has to be within 8 minutes of St. Joe's in case there's somebody's heart blows up. But just a terrific guy and a whole bunch of fun, and one of those guys that you'd like to just hang out with, and really cool guy.
Do you think that the military is almost a metric for people excelling to some degree? Do you think it's something that it instills, or a certain type of person that gravitates towards that?
Yeah, I think I've interviewed a lot of people over the years in business, and I look twice at a degree and I look twice at a military service. It's a part of a package, and it doesn't mean you're bona fide. It just means that you took the training and you did what you said you would do. You spent 4 years or whatever, or 10, and you served. And when you think about it, so if you and I right now had to end this podcast, and hey, Scott and Nick, get on the bus. We're leaving for Fort Sam Houston for 4 years, and you're leaving everything. No more of this. And you split. And plus, we're going to put you through basic training. We're going to kick your ass. We're going to give you a haircut. We'll give you a uniform. You get free clothes, and just check out for 4 years. When I look at it that way, I go, that's so rad. It's such a giving act of insanity on a giving level. I couldn't imagine, because I'm so rooted with kids and business and wealth, and I own a home in McKinleyville, and special needs kid Gabriel, what would he do, and all those considerations. And these folks amazingly chucked it for a little while, or suspended it. And so no matter what they did, I think that's pretty freaking heroic. And I'm going to do it because I love my country. I love freedom. I love what we stand for. We have this thing called a constitution. We have this system called capitalism. We have this thing called, a republic that's amazing. And there's no better system that's ever been invented. Tell me where that is on the earth, because I might want to go visit at least, and I don't know where that is. And, Denmark has really good medical, and Netherlands, as my son tells me, it's going to be really cheap. I'm going, yeah, but it's terrible. They also have legal prostitution in storefronts. So what up with that, dog? Anyway, so there's, I think I understand a little bit about the sacrifice and the whys. And, I didn't serve. I understand it, and I want to honor that. That's why we're talking.
Do you have any trouble quarreling in your own mind the aspect of taking a life? Because you do seem like you're a religious man. Has that ever been a point of contention in your life?
I've never had the opportunity to do that. I thought about it last night with my 18-year-old. I wanted to kill him.
Oh, not necessarily you killing somebody, but where you are around these people that have taken a life. Your dad.
No, I don't think so. I'm good. I liked my joke, though. I was going to kill Micah last night because he's just being an ass at 18 in the kitchen.
That's how it goes.
10 o'clock. It's just like, let's fight with Dad. Okay. No, you don't want to fight with Dad at 10 o'clock at night after a hard day's work. It's the wrong answer. And us dads are stupid enough to get snookered into those pitfalls. And it was not a win, but we figured it out, and I apologize. So we're okay. But the bottom line is, so reframe the question for me. Am I uneasy with knowing that I'm around guys that kill people?
No. Well, how do you deal with that? Because obviously in the Bible it says you shouldn't take a life.
Okay.
And so I've just talked to a number of different people. Some
from a spiritual
place.
From
a religious standpoint.
That's fair. Well, the Bible actually says thou shalt not murder, and taking somebody's life is probably almost never okay. And so I don't want to equivocate on it. I think in wartime, I think I've heard this taught recently. It was on a podcast that, hey, wartime and nations against nations, it's really not about murdering. It's about winning. And so do people die? Yeah. Is that God's perfect plan? No. Is it okay for a man of conscience or a man of God who who loves God and who has a good heart to go and fight for his country and kill folks, or and who's the more guilty, the guy that pulls the lever for the bomb, or the pilot, or the guy that made the bomb? I'm not sure. The bank robber or the getaway car? Or you and I paying taxes today to a military establishment called the U.S. government. So, the chain of command and of culpability is pretty long. So, no, I think I understand war, and I think I understand the fact that if we were, it was a legit threat by China or something. We defended our coast here against the Japanese. That's why RECWA radar system is there. That's why Centerville Beach existed. Samoa had some stuff we were watching for submarines, and they actually chucked a few bombs in the forest up by Brookings and started a little forest fire. Like, yeah, I don't want a bunch of people on Central Avenue in McKinleyville that are not from my country. So it's hard to conceive of, right? So it's almost ridiculous. So here's a German occupation of Arcata. It's like, what? The Chinese have landed in McKinleyville. We're in trouble. So I'm being a little silly and getting off topic, but yeah, I don't know that I also honor conscience. So when Tobey Maguire played that guy in that Korean War, he was a medic, but I can't think of the movie. I was trying to remember it with Joni. He's a hero, but he was a conscientious objector. And so I totally get that. And
are you talking about Hacksaw Ridge?
Hacksaw Ridge, yeah.
With not Tobey Maguire.
It's the other guy.
Yeah, it's the other
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
the other Spider.
I can't think of his name.
Wait, the other Batman. Wait, there's been 10 guys that played Batman.
Not Tobey Maguire.
It was the other
It's
Spider-Man.
on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That's a great movie. And so, are there folks that can't conscionably?
Andrew Garfield. Sorry for interrupting.
Garfield,
That's
thank
his
you.
name, yeah.
Oh, you got it. Okay. Am I good with that? Yeah, I think there's freedom of religion and expression, and if I'm called on to serve and I can't hold a rifle, and hey, go train some dogs in Korea, well, or be a medic, be Andrew Garfield, and he was actually killer hero. He saved a lot of guys. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. It's it's a nuanced discussion,
It is,
because you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, if war is knocking on your door, what do you do?
What do you do? And does it routinely with us? No. We're big enough and deep enough
and isolated enough. Nobody talks about our geographic location.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, Humboldt, I don't know what Humboldt's going to do in a nuclear holocaust. They tell us we're in a good position, but I don't know what all that means. But I do know there are bad guys and bad actors out there that's why they're special forces. Netherlands does not have a standing army. They have special forces. Germany has an army, but a lot of countries just have a special force division because they knock out human trafficking. They knock out drug imports. They knock out, like our Green Beret or SEALs. They take out real bad guys, and I think there are bad guys out there, real bad institutions even, and but I think it's different. It's not like and maybe I'll be proven. Hopefully we'll never have bad guys like we had as a coalition in World War II. That were going, hey, I think we like to have Europe. So we'll see. And I'm speculating, so hope I answered that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. World War III might pop up the way this Russia-Ukraine thing's going. But...
Welcome to the Death Podcast of World War III and War and Death. Let's hope not. I in a standing army, peace through strength. I think there's something about that because, sadly there are those bullies in life and in the world who would take advantage of somebody that wasn't strong.
There's something to the big stick mentality that people don't want to acknowledge.
None of us want to talk about it. Hey, war, it's easy. The armchair quarterbacks that enjoy all the freedoms, that dig smoking weed and staying at home and watching NBA playoffs and eating Porter Street and just living crazy DeVita. That, what have you done to earn your freedom, bro? And the answer is, well, no, because you've done nothing. And the bottom line is, and you expect it, and you're a narcissist, and you're a taker, And wow, Scott, really go heavy now. Uh, so there's that aspect where I don't think any of that freedom that is won is appreciated by some, and we don't know because we've never known any different. You and I have had plenty of food our whole lives. We've had food on the table. I think I have. I don't know about you. And I was pretty poor in San Diego with my mom raising me, but we've known nothing but opulence. We live better than 95% of the rest of the world. Our median income's 35,000. You know how much that is? It's like 98% better than the rest of the world. And it's like, and we get sadly fat and sassy. And I'm not here to kind of start going off on us because that's not fair, right? Or the purpose. The purpose is, let's say thanks to the guys that helped and the gals that won, that had their part in winning and maintaining freedom in all of its glory, meaning some of it's opulence, some of it's a hot tub tonight, going, yeah, this is awesome. Heineken in a hot tub, I'm feeling good. Thank you. Thanks for this freedom, God, and veterans and forefathers that figured out how to write a system that kind of works pretty good. That's self-checking, hopefully, and hopefully it's going to be checking itself real soon again, because it does. And that's what it does. And so, anyway, anything else on Humboldt Heroes you want to know?
Well, actually, I was a little curious. I came across the idea that you run a blog.
I do.
You have a website?
Did you read my blog?
Yeah, I checked out a couple posts.
Oh, wow. I wrote a really good one today. So I'm on a 100-day, I started the blog. I wrote a book called The Everyday Dad 12 years ago, and it all came from a blog called Become a Better Father, which my son lost the blog. We didn't pay for the
the hosting. Oh,
shit, we lost an entire amazing catalog of stuff. Thanks, Jacob. And so beginning of COVID, I put together a WordPress blog called Great Neighbor Scott, and just some rants and rants, not even rants, just my kind of life story. But the last 50 days, today's day 51, I'm in a 100-day writing challenge with a coach in Houston. And she's just challenged me to keep going and find a thread. And I think today's is really good. I wrote about my 18-year-old interlude last night with Micah, fighting with my son, my man boy son in the kitchen about just something stupid. But anyway, the bottom line is, yes, I do. And yes, it's going to become a book. And I'm writing something for folks about, it's kind of about life and about, my working title is The Grand Father, and what it means, kind of the journey of a man to go through life with kids, grandkids, and working and retirement now, and staring at retirement options and what do you do? And there's not enough money. And what about, you need two things to retire, Nick. Remember, health and wealth. It looks like you might have a bit of both. So if you don't have those, you're not going to have a good retirement. It's going to suck. You need both, not even one. And if you have none, well, that's not a retirement at all, because you're probably in a different track. So it's been fun. So I'm starting to kind of find my writing voice a little bit. And I'm finding, after watching The Whale with Brendan Fraser, did you see the movie?
It's a powerful movie.
Yeah, he's teaching JC guys how to write well online. And he goes, start writing your passion. Start writing with a voice that is passionate or pissed off or whatever that is, but write something that you feel. And I think I got a couple feels about some stuff, and I think I'm going to, and I don't have to use the F-bomb to feel it, but there's some emphasis words that are coming out a little bit that, may or may not add meaning. They are for me. Maybe it's all therapeutic. I don't know, but I'm starting to formulate the pieces of a book, and we'll see. I'll let you know.
And did all of that start out of this desire to just figure out what it means to be a good father for you?
Yeah, I think the writing voice came out of a lot of experience around God stuff, marriage stuff, communication stuff. A lot of good fathering and parenting is just from good business management. I mean, it's not strictly management. It's relationship management and connection and empathy and having a connection with your kid or your spouse that transcends the problems that are going to come against that in you and her and them. And so to write toward that and to go, okay, it's hard because you work 80 hours a week and you got to come home and be Mr. Mom and connect with your wife and be an amazing soccer, golfer, whatever, softball player. And there's not enough bandwidth to be all that. So you got to start choosing. So you pare it down. And so part of what my theme is, and I think it's biblical and solid and ethical, it's life is about relationships. And you can't take, it's not about money. It's not about your pleasure and your self-serving ways and how you pleasure yourself with your Xbox or whatever your drug is. It's about, what did you do to connect with people? How did you make it amazing for those around you? How did you add to the team, or did you? And so, my book was and will be about being intentional about that and finding that low hanging fruit and looking for ways to. I take my kids to bagels on Sundays sometimes just to date my kids and hang out. Hey, how are you? Actually, we go to Grocery Outlet in McKinleyville on Saturday. Hey, we're going to go to Gross Out this week? Yeah, let's go, man. Let's go get some of those nasty chips. And so it's just time together. So that's where that's coming from. So thanks for noticing I had a blog.
Yeah. Well, cultivating meaningful relationships, I think, is the key to really success in life.
Yeah.
And just being happy is you need to connect with people at a deeper level.
Amen to that. Yeah. And you can get better at it. It's one of those.
It's a skill.
Yeah. My son's friend called me a rapport contractor. And I prefer rapport architect. So yeah, friends are just folks we haven't met yet. And I like the counseling I got. So I just got some counseling the last couple of years. COVID and life caved in on me briefly, and Tamala goes, just get curious. Be curious with people. Hey, what's going on, Joni? Are you okay? I'm curious. I don't have to be vested. I'm just curious. Are you okay? What can I do for you? Or be curious about yourself. Wow, where did that anger come from? I got some work to do on that. And so to be in discovery and making connection, not control. That's the other thing. We all want to control everybody, and it's like, stop it. I can't even control me very well. I'm not going to control you or my wife. So it's getting out of that results business and into a little bit more surrender and going, hey, I'm going to keep my head, and I'm not going to give you control over my emotions, and I'll do the right thing at the end of the day and take the high road, unless you're me in the kitchen last night blowing up at my son, losing my mind. And we all do that. And
we all slip up.
We do. And you repent, you get it right, and you make it. I apologized. I think we're going to be okay. So anyway.
Well, Scott, we can get you out of here. This was a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you coming on and talk about Humble Heroes.
The honor's all mine, Nick. And I'd like to come back when I have my book done.
Yeah. Do you want to plug where people can find you, where they can find your stuff?
Yeah.
Your blog, Humbled Heroes?
Yeah. Humbled Heroes is, I believe, on a website. It was. I'm not sure it's still there. But Humbled Heroes, you can find it all day long on Facebook. It's great. It's huge, lots of video. Humboldt Heroes, you can call me, 444-2504, Scott Hammond, State Farm, downtown Eureka, 7th and G as in good neighbor. Because like a good neighbor, I'll be right there. And we do it every last Friday of the month, unless it's Thanksgiving or Christmas, and then we usually move it. But you can find us once a month doing that outdoors. And I've said this, and I regretted saying it. It's never rained in 7 years. Well, December, it rained like crazy. We had to take it indoors. It was crowded and crazy, but we figured it out.
Okay, well, thanks, Scott. I appreciate you doing this, man.